Night 4, the East Precinct remains the property of the people. Sources within the department tell me they are actively working on a plan to reclaim their precinct, a feat that may come with contention. Considering, Assistant Chief Deanna Nolette told me she was met with bumping when she stopped by to check on the remaining officers working inside the precinct. Mayor Jenny Durkan said when and how to make their move will be critical, for they don't want a repeat of the violence we saw on Capitol Hill last week.
We've talked about SPD moving in. They did the assessment today, and there's going to be an ongoing assessment about when it would be safe and appropriate for them to move in there, including response times and the like. We don't want to introduce additional flashpoints.
What may dictate the timing of SPD's move may not be what's happening within CHAZ or at the precinct, for in 4 nights it's remained calm. Instead, it may be the calls for help outside the precinct that forced the department's hand. Chief Carmen visiting the precinct in the morning said response times are 3 times slower out of the East Precinct, from 5 minutes to 18 minutes.
We need to be able to respond to calls for service. We have no intention of doing anything violent. We respect all the protesters and the people who landed here.
Superintendent of Public Instruction says you can expect most students to be returning to school for in-class learning in September. New guidelines are out today, and they include a number of changes. KOMO Suzanne Fawn has more from Seattle.
And every school district needs to prepare for a fall opening that is face-to-face.
Washington State's education chief is counting on students to safely return to the classroom this fall. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, Jenny Council's first grader and fifth grader have been doing distance learning in Bothell since March.
I'm excited and hopeful, to get the kids back to school in September. Obviously, that comes with a lot of uncertainty.
This fall, Brandy Paisano's son will be a 7th grader in Seattle Public Schools.
I think the biggest concerns is figuring out what the staff to teacher ratio is going to look like. Of course, hand washing, how they plan to set up the classroom.
When schools reopen, expect to see quite a few changes. All students, teachers, staff, and visitors must wear cloth face coverings at school. Expect physical distancing in classrooms, hallways, and other school facilities. School buses must be disinfected, and students must be separated as much as possible. Other possibilities include rotating schedules and phased-in start dates and online learning.
The state superintendent says he's leaving it up to each school district to decide what's best for them based on health and safety guidelines.
Speakers who were voicing support for Chief Carmen faced pushback from the crowd on Capitol Hill. And we were there as protesters confronted a few dozen police officers on bicycles at the precinct.
It's that message that spurred a movement. And at the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, some aren't holding back, saying that message has now been lost.
The thing is, you have hijacked it, you have taken the meaning away.
A handful of women representing the African American Community Advisory Council, which works with Seattle police.
Check this out, I'm not done talking, boy.
Came out to support the police chief, and that was mostly met with boos from the crowd.
African American community.
And they were quickly cut off.
Not everybody is going to have the same opinion.
We caught up with that group's chair, Victoria Beach.
We're going to keep our voices loud and clear. We're going to be heard. How are we going to be heard if that's happening? How are we going to come to the table and talk?
And not long after their time at the mic, a rolling garage door at the East Precinct opened up. A couple dozen officers rode out on bikes, a few left standing there. Some protesters then quickly moved to enforce a barricade to keep them out. It appears one of them may have even been pepper sprayed. Amid a series of voices and no real leadership, there are certainly differing takes on how to best move forward.